Hello everybody and welcome to another session in the INCOSE UK series of Meet the Council. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by Derek Price and Lisa Pritchard, who are the Chair and Deputy Chair of the UKAB. Sorry, I should have said, for those that haven't met me, my name is James Towers. And we're going to be chatting about the role of the UKAB and the role of the Chair and the Deputy Chair. And so I guess a really great place to start, Derek, is what is the UKAB?
Yeah, thanks, James. Hello, everybody. The UK Advisory Board, or UKAB as we call it, provides a forum for the UK system engineering organisations, employers within industry, government, academia. They influence INCOSE UK activities and therefore the system engineering practice that INCOSE UK promotes. So it's a networking forum and also provides an explicit way of helping the UK Council set their priorities, focus on the next year ahead, and acts as a consultation body as well. I think that's it in a nutshell, James.
Excellent, thank you very much. And so, as your role of chair, do you want to give us a brief overview of what that involves?
Yeah, so the primary role is over and above being the point of contact and representative for my employer, Network Rail, is to help run, facilitate, and record 3 meetings per year as the UK Advisory Board. There's also 2 joint meetings between the Advisory Board and the Council and the groups, which is quite a good get-together. And then as the Chair of the UKAB, I also sit on the INCOSE UK Council as a non-voting member, strictly speaking. And that meets 4 times a year. So that's a total of, 9 meetings, 10 meetings per year. The UK Advisory Board meeting is the one that is our main focus in terms of preparing for running, recording, and following up. The 2 joint meetings are more collaborative, a little bit of preparation, but it's mainly about being there on the day. And the UK Council is attending, representing the UK Advisory Board and kind of picking up interactions between the Council and the Board.
Oh, cool. And so, Lisa, how does the Deputy Chair role differ from the Chair?
So I support Derek in whatever he needs. So reviewing meetings that are produced, standing in for Derek if he's away. But it's similar. It's sort of a task share between the 2 of us. Whatever needs to be done, one of us will pick it up.
Cool. And how long have you been doing it? What's the term of the role?
So I took on the Deputy Chair role in September. My role is a 1 year, and then it rolls into the Chair for 2 years. Whoever takes on the Deputy Chair role after me in September, that will be 2 years in the Deputy Chair role position and then 2 years as the Chair.
Cool, excellent. And so what do you do when you're not doing this? What's your day job?
So I work for Fraser Nash Consultancy, giving systems engineering consultancy and systems engineering management consultancy to a range of clients in Ministry of Defence, nuclear, civil aerospace, various.
Okay, cool. I know you've already mentioned, Derek, that you work for Network Rail. What's your role within Network Rail?
I work in a consultancy, a bit like Lisa, but this one is owned by Network Rail and the Department for Transport. And we advise large, complex rail programs, mainly overseas in Australia and North America, but also spend time advising similar programs in the UK on system integration.
Cool. And I'm right in thinking this is not your first role with INCOSE UK?
That's right. You prompted me to have a look, think about that. I first got involved in 2006. I'm proud to be a founder member of the UK Rail Interest Group, which has been chugging along very nicely for quite a long time now. But that's my first volunteer role, and I've been involved off and on ever since.
Cool. And what level of support do you get from your employer to be involved in this? I mean, clearly, as the UKAB, then the Network Rail are involved directly with INCOSE UK, so obviously that's really helpful. But do you get time allowed in your job to do it extra? And
yeah, I do. I'm lucky. I mean, Network Rail recognise the importance of involvement supporting the professional engineering institutes as a point of principle, so that really helps. I think it's a 2-way street in terms of they've agreed to offer some time support for me to get involved, but we've kind of worked out an agreement between the 2 of us. We've roughly agreed on a 50-50 split in terms of paid time, if you like. I think I've budgeted something like
that amount of time?
16 to 20 days a year. So they're quite happy to cover half of that. And the reality is I cover the other half in my spare time, one way or another, which seems to work out all right. There's a lot of flexibility both ways. I think the important thing for me is a recognition of Network Rail standing up to support the Institute and being seen to do so. That opens the door to then each of us making it what each individual wants to make of it, really.
Yeah, cool. How about you, Lisa? Have you got other engagements with INCOSE or had other engagements with INCOSE?
So this is my first sort of real role with INCOSE, actually. Yeah. So I've been involved with INCOSE for, well, on and off for 16 years, but never have I done any volunteering or stood up for a position before. So yeah,
Cool.
it's the first one.
Presumably you also get a great level of support from your organisation.
Yeah, so the company will fund all of my time for attending the meetings and some of the time to prepare for them as well. About 50% of that. But then any additional work that I take on. So for example, I'm sort of chairing the D&I collaboration group at the moment. So that is in my own time. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. And how have you found it so far? As what you expected? Is it very different? Is it challenging? Is it rewarding? All those kind of things.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely rewarding. The networking opportunities are great and got a really good advisory board at the moment. So yeah, it's really exciting to be part of that and hear everyone else's, common issues and problems within the industry as well. So that is really good. Yeah, enjoy it.
Cool. Are there any big challenges you see at the moment or on the horizon?
I think our biggest challenge and continues to be is the amount of things that we want to do and the resource to actually do them, people's availability to volunteer. Yeah, that's our biggest challenge.
Obviously, you've got a slightly longer perspective, UKAB-wise, Derek. How about the same for you? Has the role been what you expected it to be since being a deputy? And what do you see as the biggest challenge coming forward?
Yeah, I mean, I was sat as a representative on UKAB for a few years before taking on the chair role. And as Lisa says, it's a very broad church. So there's a lot of potential of different viewpoints. But I think the biggest challenge is it's an opportunity for the members to network. That's always a primary reason and benefit for going. But beyond that, the challenge is to maintain momentum on what we think are important issues. That means creating time and space to do work outside of the UKAB meetings. And I think that's our biggest challenge, to do that efficiently. And some of the things that Lisa's brought in that she'll be picking up when she takes on the chair role is creating a more structured approach to doing work offline, where we actually spend more time on a small amount of issues and produce meaningful output. So there's always that balance. It's always great to get together and network and compare notes, but we really try to take it beyond that to give the council more explicit support and material deliverables and outputs where we can.
And has the UKAB, or in fact even the chair's role, changed in the time that you've been involved?
No, I don't think so. I think it's always been there to help translate and bridge the viewpoint of the UKAB members in such a way that's meaningful and useful to the council. It's always been a bit of a balancing act and a translation between the two. I've seen UKAB get very mature over the years on understanding why it's there and what its role is with the council, and the same with the council. But no, the role of the chair, I think, has stayed the same all the way through, I think.
Okay, cool. Are there any plans for it to develop as we move to being IFSI?
I think in terms of structurally, we're not anticipating a fundamental change in the relationship. The UKAB group has been standing ready to consult and support and assist with the IFSI steps. I personally am a member of what's called the IFSI task force. We've just decided to set up a user group to give more structured focus on the next steps. And we've already offered volunteers to get involved in beta testing new websites and things like that as they come up. But no, I don't think heard of any fundamental change in the relationship of this body with INCOSE UK or this body with the Institute of System Engineering when it stands up.
Cool. And speaking on behalf of the members, is there any push to make changes? Is there anything that the members would like to see differently? You're aware of course.
I think there's lots of things. I think, but the UKAB's very good at recognising we've all got different needs and desires from what we should get, and they don't always meet up. But it's always a positive atmosphere and a positive discussion, recognising we all want more from ourselves and more from the organisation, and it's trying to balance out with the constraints, whether it's more conferences, whether it's more back office IT support, whether it's more effort to produce white papers and position papers. So it's quite exciting in that way. There's always more to do than we want, and that's the challenge. It's not we don't know what to do with ourselves, which makes the days quite a challenge to get the balance right.
Yeah, cool.
I think I'd just like to add to that. Yeah, if members do have any suggestions, think that the UKAB could be run better, differently, want topics brought up, then find your representative within your company and let them know.
Yeah.
So an interesting question, Lisa, is since you're in comparative terms relatively new to your formal role with INCOSE UK, how easy was it to get involved? Or not?
So it's quite easy to get involved because we always need volunteers and support. So it was an application process, a very short application process, and then that went to, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, that goes to the council, doesn't it, Derek, to agree or approve. So it's quite easy to get involved.
How easy or difficult was it for you to make the decision? Did you weigh up lots of pros and cons? Did you get any guidance in stepping forward?
So for me, it was an easy decision to make. Personally, I only now work 3 days a week because I've got a little one, and this is a great opportunity to expand my operational network for relatively little additional work. As in, I was already the Fraser Nash representative, so going to the meetings anyway. So yeah, for me, it was an easy decision, and also it gives me exposure to what the council do and how an organisation like this is run, which is really interesting.
So you said already that you get quite a lot out of it, and you get quite hopefully you enjoy it. What do you think the key skills are required to do your role?
Organisation, I think. Yeah, because I've said we've got quite a lot of activities and things that need to be done. With quite a few members now, we've got 33 members within the UKAB. That's quite a lot of people to not keep control of, but to understand everyone's viewpoint and what they're doing. And so yeah, organisation. This one's a tricky one. I think just being a good systems engineer is useful as well. I don't know, Derek, have you got anything else to add? What do you think?
I think you're right. If you haven't already got those skills, that's a good point. And a good system engineer means being able to run a room. And I think if you haven't already got those skills, it will grow and certainly enhance those. To be able to embrace the people with the energy that want to contribute lots of things, but balance that with eliciting contributions from everyone in the room that need to. The ability to distill what can be quite complex discussions into clear actions and direction that the UK Council can work with, and collaborating, whether that's with the Secretariat, the back office team, Lisa and I collaborating well in and out of the meetings, and collaborating with the Council and the Early Careers Forum, which has become a really important part of our network and our wider ecosystem, if you like. Then outside, there's just good management skills, managing your time, managing your day job, and balancing those. If you haven't already got those skills, it certainly enhances those, I think, in order to not totally take over all your spare time, which I think Lisa and I are pretty good at not doing, I think.
Yeah. I think it's that challenge of we always want to do more, do it better, do it well, and knowing that's good enough, that will do.
What I would say, and I've really found all the way through this, is because we're a volunteer organisation, everybody understands that everybody has different limits on their time and different limits of what they can do. What I've found every time is that's really accommodated really well, which I think is a really important message of volunteers to understand that we all make a commitment to it, but we all understand that we have personal lives and working lives, where our bandwidth changes from over time. And it's really important to be comfortable with that, I think, in order to for volunteers to work effectively.
Yeah, cool. Do you think in your involvement with both the UKAB and other areas of INCOSE UK, you've developed skills that you may not have perhaps developed quite as quickly just in your day job?
Absolutely. I think the one that I think we all get is it's kind of acts as a self-help group and validate our day job role as system engineers. We're often isolated in what we're trying to do. And I think by being a volunteer, it takes it up a level, because it's not simply attending an event or attending a conference. You're mixing with people of different levels of seniority, working in different sectors, and really it really enhances that feeling and confidence to go back into my day job and project what we're trying to do.
Yeah, cool. It just occurred to me, Lisa, that one of the challenges we often have in INCOSE is representation. Historically, we've all been white middle-class males, and we would like that to change. But I guess you've got a double problem, haven't you, with the UKAB, in that you want diversity in organisations and you want diversity in representation of organisations as well. And you've got two things that you have to approach there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is why we've started up the D&I collaboration group within the UKAB at the moment to look at that problem. Yeah, we would love every area of INCOSE to be more diverse, but there's systematic and social issues with that, and that's where we are. So we're looking initially at how do we make it more inclusive for everybody to retain people, and then going forward, how do we make it more diverse? But it's not a simple or a quick fix. Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts on that, Derek? Is there more that we could be doing?
There is, I think, as opposed to more, I think that's with Lisa's initiative with the DEI group, is to bring more focus to our questions and more focus our efforts where we either target companies to bring in or understand how our UKAB members are contributing and moving the subject matter on. I think we've taken some quite good steps in there. As I say, it's not straightforward. It's not black and white. Get more XY companies or get more XY people. It's how do we approach bringing people in? How do we approach bringing other companies in? I think what we have found, we have to think back to 5 or 10 years ago even, the mix of companies was, understandably aerospace defence. Not dominated, just there was more members there. And I think what's really good to see now is a much better mix of civil infrastructure, transportation, and aerospace, defence and manufacturing. So it leaves some other sectors to target, if you like. That's what as I said, it's not straightforward. We just do what we can.
Am I right in thinking that the role, the idea of having a chair and a deputy chair is not fixed, but it flexes on the size of the UKAB? Is that my understanding correct?
I think what does flex is the number of seats that UKAB members can take up to attend the council.
Okay.
That varies with the size of membership. Now, I think what we've done is we've decided to go with this rolling chair, deputy chair mechanism, a bit like the council have their roles, to really facilitate a rolling wave of people coming in, having a few years to get into the role, share the role, take it on. That kind of feels more sustainable than every few years going around to find a new chair, and sometimes it lapsing into a longer tenure than we intended.
Yeah, cool. Is the role purely one of kind of service and facilitation, or do you have a role in setting strategy for the?
I think, yeah, no, that's a good point, James. I think quite clearly given the broad church and the need to run a room, once you're in the seat, it gives a great opportunity to steer that focus and project that in a way that you can choose between the UKAB and the council. So it is a way that amplifies and reinforces the UKAB priority, but quite clearly, there's an opportunity to shape how the day goes, to shape and distill the outcomes, not in a distorting way, but it's a great opportunity to give your contribution the way that you probably wouldn't have being a single point of contact attendee.
Yeah, cool.
But if just to add to that, yeah, but you're also the UKAB representative on the council as well. So at the council strategy days, yeah, your voice is heard there, and you get to influence, the INCOSE strategy going forward.
I mean, I guess it might be somewhat premature, too early in your cycle, Lisa, but have you started to think about what you might do in the role as chair and what your viewpoint outlook might be?
Yeah, well, I actually take over in September, so it's not that long now. I think Derek's got one more meeting left. So I think I'd like to continue what we've put in place over the past year. So be more strategic and focused with those activities that we're doing within UKAB. I think we've got probably about 10 at the moment, that some we're pushing forward, some we're on hold. So really look at what those are. And get more engagement from the council. What do they, as the council strategy develops, what do they really need from UKAB? What advice? So be more targeted with that.
So how does the process of finding your deputy go about? How does that work?
Yeah, so people on the UKAB have been told that the role is up, and then it will get, I suppose, formally announced at the next UKAB meeting, and people will be asked to put in their applications if they'd like to apply.
Cool. So thinking about from a personal perspective, what would you say is the biggest thing you've gained from the role? I mean, I know that's a difficult question, but we're here for difficult questions.
I think for me, it's the networking and the almost the publicity. Like everybody on the UKAB know who me and Derek are, because we're sat at the front of the room. Also, everyone in my company knows that I'm the UKAB representative and will become the chair. So, it gives you that platform, which is actually really important when you get to quite a senior level to have that.
Oh, how about you, Derek? What do you think?
I think one of the immediate ones is actually satisfaction at being able to stand up, and the feeling of helping and steering the council and therefore the wider community is certainly there. It gives you a great insight to the challenges that the council and the wider team have in running INCOSE UK, the interactions and dealings they have with INCOSE International, the Royal Academy, and other associations. It is really a great insight. And also, thinking back into my day job, sometimes it is really useful to be able to say, well, as chair of the UK Advisory Board, I think, and that alone can carry a lot of weight. You've got to use it carefully, obviously, but there's a real benefit in that.
Cool. So one of the questions that I asked of the INCOSE president-elect was, I guess it's kind of different because you were involved in the UKAB prior to becoming the chair, so you get to see. It's not quite like it is becoming the president, where you're not even necessarily on the council. But did you have a feeling of gravitas when you moved into the role? Did it suddenly, in some ways, sharpen your focus and make you think about more responsibility?
Although the responsibility, what was my conscience weighed very heavily on me to make it a great day. And what I think it helped me to realise was to be, as time went, to less worried about my own performance as the chair and be more open to how the others want the meeting to go. So as you get feedback, it becomes easier to settle into what the role really needs. But really conscious of making it a good day, because people are taking time out from their day job to do it. So it's important that they go away thinking, yeah, I'm going to come back and do that again.
Yeah. How about you, Lisa? How did you find stepping up into the role?
Yeah, I think I echo what Derek said. So you've got 33 people there, senior systems engineers from lots of different companies, all spending their time doing this. It's really important that we get the most effective use of that time. So yeah, that's quite daunting, I suppose, to make sure you facilitate that meeting correctly. Yeah.
Cool. So obviously, we're always trying to encourage people to volunteer with INCOSE UK. And as I said previously, I guess the UKAB is slightly different in that in order to get to your positions, you already have to be involved. But what would you say to people who are perhaps thinking about volunteering, or perhaps people who are put off for volunteering? I mean, obviously, one of the easiest things is just go for it. But from your experience, what would you say to encourage people?
I think there's two things. One, thinking on the in terms of the UKAB, we have often talked about communicating the principle that certainly early careers members who work for a UKAB member company are welcome to come along as an observer and to get involved and bring them in. Doesn't happen that often because it mainly comes through the ECF. In terms of volunteering other things, I personally, a long time ago, tried to get involved in a few ways and tripped up. I went to an international symposium, went to a working group a long time ago, and to be blunt, it wasn't a well-run working group. I was sat in a room wanting to volunteer and wasn't engaged with. So that could be off-putting, but I was quite determined. I even offered to help with a conference organisation. This is 20 odd years ago. But then when I realised that would mean paying to go to a conference and not going to any of the sessions, that was quite deterring. In the end, I found my home through my industry sector, through the rail industry community, and got involved with a group of people creating a new interest group. And then that really got me into the network of meeting other working groups, meeting council members. It should be easier than that. I hope it's easier than that. But I think it's just don't give up. If it first doesn't quite work, don't give up, because people need to be reassured. We collectively do want people to come in. I think once you're involved, it's very welcoming. It's getting through that first, finding the right door to get in, I think, James.
Yeah, absolutely. And go on, Lisa.
No, I think I find the volunteering, just finding that network of people, as Derek said, that like-minded, but same interests of you as you get a lot back from it yourself. So yeah, I'd really say go for it, especially with the UK the UKAB. We've got the collaboration group, so anybody that's part of a UKAB company can volunteer to do one of the UKAB collaboration group activities as well. So again, talk to your representatives about what we've got going on.
Cool. Does the issue of volunteers, or perhaps the lack of volunteers, come up as a topic in the UKAB? Is that one of the things that's discussed?
Yes, it's not a standing agenda item, but it always comes up somewhere when we're trying to talk about getting something done. As Lisa said, the collaboration group. I think every group ends up talking about that sometimes. How do we get more volunteers in? I personally think the important thing is to recognise it's not somebody else's job to fix. It's a collective activity to do it. We often fall into thinking there's a department somewhere looking after bringing volunteers in, and there just isn't. We're too small at the moment. Yes, we're always talking about that, James.
Yeah, cool. And I don't mean this in any way to sound as if it's a criticism, but do you think UKAB member companies do enough to promote INCOSE volunteering? One of the things that always strikes me when I'm ever involved in INCOSE is that you're having that conversation with the choir, aren't you? Because they are the people that are volunteering.
Yeah, I think I would fit the question to be: are we achieving enough? I think no. I think individuals do their best they can. I think sometimes it's a structural issue of not having a means of doing it. I don't know what the answer is, but I think we're certainly not achieving what we'd like to achieve. And I think it's a real mixed bag of how we individually go back from these events and back into our host organisations. I think the mechanisms are different for each point of contact, I think. I don't know what you think, Lisa.
Yeah, it's difficult because the UKAB companies, they're a big range. Some are multinational, really big ones. Some are still quite small ones or just academia. So to say, I think they're doing as much as they can to publicise. There might be, some additional work we could do to support that. And I know we've partnered with the ECF as well when they go into companies and do a little roadshow to say what we do as INCOSE. So yeah, there probably is more we can do. But we have to look at that.
So one of the topics that came up when we were having this discussion with the presidents, Lisa, is that it was suggested that perhaps it should be a requirement of various levels of accreditation that you have to volunteer within INCOSE. Perhaps I think somebody even suggested that perhaps you couldn't even be president if you'd not volunteered at some level in the past. How do you feel about that as an idea?
I think when we get big enough, that might be something that we could do to incentivize more volunteers. I think that given the size we are, that could become a discouraging thing. And to be fair, we're not in a position where we have every year we have people competing for positions. I think once we get big enough where that's happening, then we could leverage that into, if you want to be in this pool of candidates, you need to demonstrate commitment. I think that'd be fair. I think it's a timing thing for me in terms of our size.
And I also think it's a privilege thing. I'm very privileged that I have the spare time that I can do that additional volunteering. If I couldn't afford additional childcare to cover that, I wouldn't be able to. So you're excluding some people.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the idea, as you've already talked about, of having a rolling position is kind of the idea anyway, isn't it? Which means that we no longer have the position where people come to an important role without any experience. They've done the deputy role first or the president-elect role first. So I guess some of that was it. But yeah, that was one of the topics that came out, which is that we have lots of ideas about how we would like to reform these roles, but the one thing we don't want to do is put barriers up. Because
one thing that's worked well in my employer organisation is encouraging managers to include performance objectives relating to being involved in institute groups or in INCOSE working groups. That gives them a bit more of a lever to justify the time and sometimes expense to do it. I think that creates more potential candidates for working groups than, this is my personal view, in INCOSE UK enforcing rules and putting up barriers to involvement.
I mean, I think we should say that being involved in any of these activities, you do get professional development units, don't you? So if you are chartered or similar, then they do count towards maintaining your chartership. So
yes,
you're worthwhile from that point of view. What do you think about the future of the role? I think you've already said that it's pretty much it's going to stay the same. But thinking perhaps slightly further ahead, is there a way you would like it to evolve? And that's for either of you, if you've got any thoughts on that.
I think there's, at the moment, I think, and this is a personal view, that different companies have different reasons for paying the fee to be a member of UKAB and come along to the meetings. And they're all individually valid reasons. There's a balance between profile and presence and being in the room and supporting INCOSE directly. The other extreme is wanting to do active work, create deliverables, and make lots of changes. So it's a very broad church. So maybe in the future, as we get bigger, there may be some structure to introduce where parts of UKAB are about steering and other parts are about networking and promoting UK system engineering industry. I think that would naturally come with volume. One thing I don't think will change was the fundamental relationship in terms of an industry body giving a steer and a support to the council in their activities. I think that's one of our differentiators as a PI, to have such a clear focus from industry.
Any thoughts from you, Lisa, on that, about where you'd like it to go in the future?
So I'd like it to get more representatives from more diverse companies and areas. However, I think there will be a challenge then with how we organise and coordinate everybody, because having 50 people in a room all trying to give their opinion doesn't work. So yeah, as we get bigger, I think we'll need to look at, as Derek said, maybe splitting it into different forums or having different focuses for different meetings. But yeah, that's a future problem that I haven't yet really thought about.
Yeah. Well, so staying with you, Lisa, one thing that did occur to me right at the very top, which was, we started out by saying what the UKAB does, which is really important, because I think a lot of ordinary members, if I don't mean that pejoratively, aren't necessarily aware. And do you think there is a slight disconnect between the ordinary membership and the UKAB?
I think, given you've asked the question, that probably indicates there is. I mean, the UKAB does two really important things. It provides significant financial assistance and support to INCOSE UK. That's just a fact. And then there's the people who are in that room that are paid for the attendance to work up what they want to get from it. But as you say, Jen, that misses out the membership awareness of what benefit they're getting from that involvement. Yeah. And I don't think it's something we've we've gone out of our way to communicate massively, other than, you know, updates in e-preview and a post to an ASEC, and if somebody asks us. So there may be something there about a bit wider comms piece to the wider membership about what they get from us doing what we do.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the UKAB representative. So, for example, I try to feed back to all the UKAB members that I know within my company, or any of the systems people that are interested in systems engineering. This is what we did at UKAB. These are the groups that we've got going. Come and get involved. But again, that's down to the personal representatives to do that. So yeah, maybe there is something we could do, I don't know, a yearly update or something to all members, a bit more in e-preview.
It's a good point. So I do a similar thing back in Network Rail. I have a comms briefing back into the organisation, but that's it, and that's limiting it to the people who are members of our employees' organisations. And it's not there is something. We've got an opportunity to be more inclusive in what we project out, I think, that way.
And then just to round things off, is there something which you're the most proudest of, either in your own role or you think that UKAB has done in the recent past?
So I'm really proud that we've started the D&I activities again, and how the council are behind that and pushing that forward. So yeah, in my short time as deputy, I think that's the thing that really stands out for me, and how much support there have been from the UKAB companies sending representatives to the collaboration groups and supporting it. So yeah, it's been good.
How about you, Derek? Is there anything that's
I think for me it was the previous chair had the challenge of making it work during lockdown, Tim, and I think what I'm proud of is getting the transition back out of lockdown to people very quickly wanting to be face to face and enjoying getting that benefit from a face-to-face meeting. The other thing I'm proud of is the gradual growth in the mix of sectors that are represented in UKAB. Those are two for me, I think.
Have you got a target in terms of strategy for that, or is it you just more members would be better, more diverse members, or are you actually working towards something?
It's very ad hoc. So if through the secretariat, they'll get queries which will help follow up. So it's quite ad hoc. I think each of us has personal aspirations of which companies we like to see in. So it's fairly ad hoc and informal. We don't want to aggressively go out and target companies with our general promotion, I don't think.
Cool. And I take it you're both optimistic about the future.
Yeah, well, only way to be. I've always been a deluded optimist, James, so I don't know any other way of working.
Excellent. Well, that's been great. Thank you very much for your time. I've really enjoyed that, and been great to learn something about the UKAB and your particular roles. And I hope you all success for the future.
Thank you, James. Lisa.
Thank you very much. Thank you.